After an attack by a giant sea creature, the wizard Geralt becomes involved in a war that could destroy two worlds, humans and sea creatures. As the stories deepen, a secret of love, betrayal and power is revealed that could change everything. But when kings, a treacherous princess and an insatiable kraken collide, can Geralt keep the peace or will the sea run red with blood? This story begins with the witch Geralt of Rivia, accompanied by his loyal friend Dandelion. They follow the trail of a creature that they were supposed to kill because it was causing trouble for some fishermen. At this point they are face to face with the beast, so Geralt quickly counters. As always and just like in the TV series, he takes control in a very spectacular way and we notice that his movements have not changed. Then the sorcerer manages to confront him and seems to defeat him. Realizing this, the creature decides to escape into the water, but Geralt refuses to let go and they dive deep into the sea. The creature hides in a sea cave, only to discover that Geralt has followed it. Geralt quickly uses his magic to catch it and is ready to complete the task. But in that moment he realizes they are not alone and demands that the person spying on them identify himself. He soon finds out that the spies are sea creatures called botniks. They tell Geralt that the creature has done nothing wrong and just likes to eat oysters, especially the pearls they contain. After assessing the situation, Geralt realizes that they are right. So he decides to release the creature and asks the botniks to take him back to the surface. They graciously accept the invitation, acknowledging that the wizard is honorable. Meanwhile, in Botnik, there is an encounter with sea creatures. They inform the king that the people are overfishing and that there is no more food available for them. The king tries to calm the situation by making sure that a solution is found. However, no one agrees with him as they believe he hesitates to act because his daughter, the princess, is in love with the prince of the human kingdom. Sea animals are raising their voices and demanding action against humans so they can take control of the entire ocean. The queen tells them that their concerns will be taken into consideration, especially since they have already noticed that humans sent a wizard to slaughter an innocent creature. At that time, Princess Sheenaz told her mother not to resist people. She argues that peace must always be sought and reminds them that her alliance with the prince can bring harmony between the two nations. However, the king and queen do not agree. At the same time, Melusine, the queen's sister, arrives. She shares her niece's point of view and believes that the connection between the princess and the prince is perfect for keeping the peace. The king strongly disagrees and the queen asks Melusine to stay out of the case. Melusine refuses and reminds her that she is also part of the royal family. In this moment of conflict, secrets are revealed. The king was originally in love with Melusine, but since she was unable to have children, he married her sister instead. While we're back with Geralt and his friend, we see that Jaskier isn't very happy with himself. He tells Geralt that he should have killed the creature since they are short of money and don't even have enough food. Geralt explains that he couldn't do that because the creature was innocent. Dandelions also complain about their current location because there doesn't seem to be much money to be made here. He criticizes Geralt for following the advice of the witch Yennefer and suspects that he is in love with her. Jaskier advises him to move on and find someone else. Frustrated, Jaskier offers a deal. He will take the first job offered to him as a musician, while Geralt takes the first available job as a hunter. They both have to make money somehow. Meanwhile, the locals in town don't seem to appreciate their presence. Regardless, the two friends continue their journey and arrive at a place where everything seems to be going well as Dandelion prepares to perform his show. At this point, Yask introduces her to a friend named Easy, Gerald, and he tells her that they will be very good friends as boys. We notice that Gerald immediately seems interested in her. At this point we see a memory of Dandelion, who had an enemy in the past named Celeste, the unsung son of the king. He wasted what little strength he had as Dandelion kept having to save him. In the present, Jaskier assumes that Celeste ended up a wanderer or something worse. At that moment, they realize that the king has arrived at the prince, but what surprises Jaskier is that Celeste is with them as he learns that Celeste is now the leader of the guards. The party continues and everything seems normal, while nearby, in the sea, fishermen are harvesting large quantities of oysters and using other resources to find pearls. But when they finally find one, they realize that the sea creatures are attacking them and understand that their end has come. Meanwhile, Gerald gets to know Easy better and learns the kingdom's situation. She tells him that many people are unhappy with the king because he refuses to take action against the sea creatures because his son is in love with one of them. The pressure on the king increases. At the same time, Jaskier takes his turn and does his best. Meanwhile, people notice that there is another princess who could be an alternative for the prince, but the prince clearly prefers Sheena's. At the same time, Ira meets Celeste and learns that they plan to meet the sea creatures. The wizard advises them to be careful in their decisions, but Celeste mocks him and reminds him that he didn't dare strike down the creature. But everything is interrupted when one of the fishermen arrives and tells the king that they have been attacked by sea creatures. The king wants to declare war on Botnik immediately, but the wizard insists that the creature he encountered earlier was innocent. He believes that someone is orchestrating these events to provoke a war between the two kingdoms. Celeste, for his part, is eager to take action against the creatures and challenges Gerald to prove otherwise. Gerald hesitates because he knows he will be caught in the middle of a conflict that has nothing to do with him. However, Dandelion convinces him to accept the challenge because not only can they make money, but they can also help solve the situation. After agreeing, the friends leave to rest, knowing that the next day will be long. That night, Gerald dreams of Essie, but he also dreams of Yennefer, who tells him that she knows he is interested in someone else. However, she reminds him that the most important thing is that he wakes up. Suddenly, Gerald wakes up to find a sea creature attacking him. He quickly draws his sword and begins to fight, but realizes that the creature is extremely skilled. Left with no other choice, he uses his secret elixir to increase his powers and finally manages to defeat him. However, Dandelion complains that he let the creature escape. Gerald assures him that it was on purpose, this way they can track the creature and find out where it came from. Meanwhile, the king urges Global to marry the princess he introduced to him, but the prince refuses, saying that he is truly in love with Sheena's. The king does not agree to this as their union would not produce an heir. Frustrated, he told the prince to leave. At the same time, Celeste arrives and tells the king that everything is ready in case of a confrontation, as he refuses to let the sea creatures harm more people. The king acknowledges Celeste's brave decisions and admits that he wishes Celeste were his son. Later, the prince meets Sheena's and it is clear that they are deeply in love. However, they do not know how to deal with their family who do not accept their relationship. Their moment is interrupted when the princess realizes that Gerald is heading straight for his kingdom. She quickly says goodbye to the prince and rushes to warn her people. Meanwhile, Gerald manages to capture the creature, which has just arrived at the Sentry, where there are many others of its kind. He demands that the creature reveal who sent him, but it refuses. Gerald tries to convince him that revealing the truth would prevent a war between humans and sea creatures. However, the creature remains silent and fails to betray its master. At this point, they overturn the creature and realize that humans have arrived. The wizard who had done all the work realizes that the humans were responsible. A confrontation between the sea creatures and the humans ensues, and Geralt quickly realizes that things are spiraling out of control as he tries to protect both Jaskier and Esi. When the witch does not take sides, Geralt breaks up the fight and orders Seals to retreat. However, Seals refuses, saying that they must eliminate the monsters. Geralt objects, saying that the only monster he sees is Seals herself. He warns that if he doesn't back down, Seals will fight him personally. Because of this, the humans decide to withdraw their ships, but Geralt warns that he will inform the king of the incident. Meanwhile, in Botnik, it is learned that a royal cousin who was still looking for peace was shot. China tries to save him with her healing powers but can't do much and ends up losing him. Elsewhere, she heals Geralt, bringing them closer together. At dawn, the three of them, Geralt, Jaskier and Kina, go straight to the prince couple, looking for answers. But instead of solving the problems, their discussion turns into an argument. The Chinese princess senses that the prince will not sacrifice and leaves in frustration. Humans and sea creatures prepare for the worst as the Chinese princess struggles to decide her next move. Even her own mother does not understand her because she and the prince's peace efforts have little trust. At that moment, Melusine turns to her niece and reveals a possible solution. She has developed a formula that can change shape. In this way, the Chinese princess could become human and be with the prince. Although she realizes that this could be a solution, she is still unsure because it would mean giving up everything. Melusina tells her that she doesn't have to make up her mind right away and lets her use the potion when the time comes. Meanwhile, Geralt and his allies investigate the fleets of those who were shot down. They initially suspected that marine life was responsible, but their results suggest otherwise. They soon discover a royal Botnik necklace, adding to the confusion. However, Geralt pieces together the truth and rushes to the king's castle. Knocking over a few guards, he rushes in, where he is quickly surrounded by Seals and others. Geralt realizes that it is not the sea creatures that are attacking the ships. Instead, someone dressed up as a kraken and used sea creature weapons to make it seem like they were in charge. When the others dismiss this as impossible, Geralt clarifies that it wasn't a kraken, but someone who turned into a kraken, Melusina. At this moment, Melusine reveals herself. Geralt reveals the truth that the so-called princess introduced by the king was actually Melusine in disguise. After her identity is revealed, Melusina prepares to fight Geralt. However, she fights him. At the height of the tension, the king orders Melusine to escape and reveals that he has known everything all along. When Melusine escapes into the sea, the prince confronts the king for betraying him. The king confesses that his plan was to wage war against the sea creatures, but all failed because of the sorcerer. His original plan was for Melusine, disguised as a princess, to marry the prince and help him carry out his plan. Frustrated and betrayed, the prince walks away and declares that he no longer wants to be a part of it. The king orders his guards to eliminate the sorcerer and his companions. He specifically asks Seals to carry out the order and prepare for war against the sea creatures. But in a shocking twist, Seals refuses. He thought they were defending his people, but in reality the king had tricked them to justify attacking the sea creatures. In honor of her fallen comrades, Seals gives up her position. Enraged, the king orders his arrest and sentences him to the same fate as the sorcerer. As the war approaches, people try to persuade the prince to intervene because he is the only one who can stop it. He is told that the wizard and his allies have always fought for the good of all. However, the prince, lost in thought and struggling with his emotions, refuses to act. Meanwhile, Geralt and his companions are about to be executed, but they manage to free themselves. As they prepare to defend themselves, the Chinese princess arrives and tries to stop the ships from advancing and attacking her people. However, she notices that the prince is absent and wonders if he really cares about the upcoming battle. Gerald tries to explain what happened, and the prince admits that although he is confused, he still loves her. However, there is no time for further discussion as the battle between humans and sea creatures descends into chaos. In the middle of the confrontation, Melusina returns and transforms into a kraken, attacking everyone in sight. Gerald intervenes and saves his friends, while Melusina captures the Chinese princess and declares that she will now take over the kingdom since her plans to be with the prince have failed. At that moment, the prince arrives, determined to help. Although he is not the strongest fighter, his efforts count. Gerald takes this opportunity to launch a surprise attack on Melusina. But suddenly she devours him. Fortunately, this was part of Gerald's plan. Moments later, he appears with increased power and uses his power to defeat her. However, victory comes at a price. Seals is killed in the battle. The prince seizes the moment, stops the fighting and reveals the truth to everyone. The king and Melusine had orchestrated everything. This revelation opens the eyes of both sides and convinces them to end the conflict. The prince then tells the king that he will marry the Chinese princess and she will become human and live among them. The king reluctantly agrees, but it is decided to keep his identity a secret to keep the peace. On the day of the celebration, many guests arrive unaware of the true nature of the event. But in an unexpected twist, it is the prince who takes the potion in his place. He reveals to his father that he has realized that appearances mean more to him than true peace. Realizing that he has no place in the kingdom, he accepts his fate, turns into a sea creature and leaves with them. The king angrily blames the wizard for everything and insists that his plans would have succeeded without his interference. But Gerald turns the accusation on himself, claiming that his own ambition has left him alone and without an heir. At dawn, Gerald and Dandelion prepare for their next adventure. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to check out our other recommendations, including the latest Witcher movie. Have a nice day.